let's talk about the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. So if you've been following our show for any length of time, you know we've been following this trial because of the juicy tidbits that are coming out of this. What names would be named? What high-profile billionaires were down there on Epstein Island? Who was covering it up? Who in the government knew about this? So many intriguing angles on this story. Well, there is a conservative, I will say conservative. Now, we are equal opportunity offenders here on the show. We are neither conservative nor liberal. We are independent. And so we go after each willingly. There is a conservative meme, though, that's been floating around that the mainstream media is ignoring the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell. That the media were all over the Kyle Rittenhouse story, but they can't be bothered to cover this story. Alex Jones over at InfoWars has devoted whole segments to lack of coverage around Ghislaine Maxwell. But I think in many ways this is all in an effort to drive clicks for these conservative media organizations, because he's missing the point. I went through archives of each major news network over the past 24 hours to look at the organization's coverage, and it's been exhaustive. It's been exhaustive. Just take a look at some of the instances of searches. Here's the front page of CNN. The front page of CNN with a whole section cut out with 4 stories devoted to the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. This is CNN, okay? And countless videos and interviews on CNN over the past week or longer, and within the past few days. Here is Fox News. Look at that. Ghislaine 3 days ago, 6 days ago, 4 days ago, 1 hour ago, 3 hours ago, constantly updating on Fox News, right? This is quote unquote mainstream media coverage of these stories.
Is this just on their website, or they cut because you don't see it anything else that they want to get attention to? They're putting it on the shows. They're putting Tucker's talking about it. It's going on their YouTube channel. It has more of a media push than this is getting.
Mm-hmm. Well, videos and interviews on ABC News, live on television. What's that?
It's on the website, though, isn't it? Is it actually on any shows?
Yeah, if you click on any of these stories, you'll end up going to videos from interviews from these shows with video embeds in them. And these are videos right here, and these are videos right here. Here's 20. Look at these interviews right here on. This is actually only which one is this? This is on CBS News, I think. Interview after interview after interview with the different accusers, former Epstein staffers, coverage of the trial, and so forth.
Okay, I'm not able to follow what your point is here. So you think that there are people who say that they're not covering Ghislaine Maxwell to protect their media darlings. Mm-hmm. And you're saying they're wrong. They are covering it.
Yeah. And I'm saying what's being missed here in all of this is that this is a federal trial, and the judge, you cannot have cameras inside the courtroom.
Right.
So there are no cameras allowed inside the courtroom. Here's the front page of NBC News. And they're covering yesterday's testimony inside the court. And yes, they only have sketches. So it's very easy for people to just make this jump to thinking that because there's sketches, there's no video, there's no Kyle Rittenhouse crying video, that it's somehow it's nefarious. No, you're not allowed to have cameras in a federal courthouse. Totally different at a state, totally different situation. In fact, the reporters, conservative reporters who've been in the room say you can't bring cameras in here. And it's very difficult for us to do our jobs because we have phones and tablets that we're not allowed to bring into the courtroom. We have to leave them outside. We have to leave them outside in the bin. We can't even bring them inside the courtroom to do our reporting. We have to leave the room and go outside the body scanner to get our phone to then file reports. So just by virtue of the structure of it, it's painted differently, or it's.
I saw a slew of articles this morning about how what it's like to draw her as a cartoonist. One cartoon, one of the artists, they're not a cartoon. They're not trying to make a caricature. Said she poses for me. I guess she's got nothing else to do while she poses. He says she's been looking at me and posing. Oh, you're let me get my better side. So I don't know. That's what an artist say. Yes, but your point is well taken. Nobody can get in there. We can't verify that.
Yeah, and there's no video allowed. So
same with the Juicy Smollett case.
Oh yeah, the Jesse Smollett. Yeah, well, talk about a juicy case. I mean, and there's been, I think, just equal. There's been, I think, there's been, from what I've seen, there's been no shortage of coverage from Ghislaine Maxwell. And I know that these reporters wish that they actually had video in. I know that media organizations would love to have cameras inside this courtroom covering this trial.
But don't you feel like there's some kind of machine that pushes things out when they have an agenda? Do you know what I mean? It's like, because there's a difference. Like there's people cutting up and making short little videos like This Is Now or whatever, like all of these different things. And it's kind of like those are what get people, because they're putting those on TikTok, these short videos. They're putting them on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Stories, Instagram Reels or whatever. And that's how they're getting these stories like Rittenhouse and all that out more. And it's like they don't have that same push on this or the Jesse Smollett.
But who's this? The thing is, like, but who's to blame here, right? Because if you just think about logistics for a second, right? Let's say, like, here's an update from the New York Times, just came out just a few moments ago, on the updates on the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. So and interviews inside. District judge denied a request by Maxwell's attorney. So all of these things, like allowing photos in, like release the sexual photos from the FBI agents that they found on the disc, the compact discs, like all these are being updated in the news. And from Reuters, U.S. News and World Report, from New York Times. This report actually came from the New York Times specifically. But let's just talk logistics for a second, right? To your point, David. So let's say I'm at the Kyle Rittenhouse, or the media has clips, right? Anybody, I could go on to PBS NewsHour website or whatever and grab a video of Kyle Rittenhouse crying or saying he didn't do this or he didn't do that, right? And I could clip it, and I could literally stick that little clip right up on a YouTube short or on TikTok, and I could make a funny video about it, and I could like put my face on it and be like, no, he didn't, he said what? Clip it and post it up. There's none of that. They're not allowed to bring phones in there. They're not allowed to bring cameras in there. They can't do any of that. And so then it really is incumbent upon like the main news journalists who are at the federal courthouse, they're covering this story, to come outside with their phone and do something like that, and they're not going to do that. They're going to file their 2-minute story for the nightly news or whatever. And it's just a different animal. It's not the OJ trial. Jury. What's that?
They could follow the jury home.
No, they cannot. They absolutely cannot do that.
No, but I mean to create a story.
But what are some of the updates on this trial? I mean, some of the juicier tidbits over the past few days is that they're now entering their 7th day today. So this is now the 7th day, and prosecutors were expected to show jurors photographs depicting some lurid photos with her and Jeffrey Epstein. They're like nude photos of the two of them, but the judge has said no. You can't show those photos. There's a whole bunch of digital photos that are on this, like that the FBI seized, that they're not going to be allowed to show during this. So they're going to basically say that these photos, that they are relevant or they're not. It depends on the victims. Like you don't get to show Ghislaine hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, but you do get to show photos of the victims with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. So. Anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. And also the sketch artists say that she sketches on her own during the trial. So maybe she could sell those on eBay.
She's so bored. She's just like, when I got this in the can, I'm just gonna sketch. I'm not even paying attention. I'm just bored.
Or maybe it's some kind of code to her, to the secret people who are patronizing their services. Like,
if you're a juror, though,
the abuser of this girl, you're coming next.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know though. If you're a juror and you're sitting there and you're watching serious testimony from these victims, and then you look over and you see Ghislaine like drawing birds, like just sketching stuff.
Well, some of the sketch art, I just sent it to you, has her actually drawing people, like sort of abstracts. I mean, who knows, right? What she's actually drawing, but I guess it does show a little bit of disinterest.
Secretly drawing the bad people, like.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem like maybe that's code. Like, who abused that girl? You better watch your back. But that doesn't look like a girl worth that image.
There.
Yeah.
So that looks like she's drawing a Where's Waldo?
I can't interpret that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying.
All right. There you go.